There's a theater in Tokyo where actors still bow to an empty shrine before every rehearsal, whispering apologies to a woman who's been dead for 400 years, and the ones who forget, they don't finish the production. Some say it started with a director in 1956 who laughed at the ritual, called it superstition for cowards. He was found 3 days later in his dressing room, clawing at his own face, screaming about something in the mirror that no one else could see. His eyes were fine, the mirror was empty, but he never stopped scratching. That woman they're apologizing to, her name was Oiwa, and what was done to her didn't just create a ghost story, it created a curse that refuses to die, one that's followed this tale from the Edo-period straight into the digital age, evolving, adapting, waiting in every retelling for someone to show disrespect. And here's the thing that keeps me awake. The more famous the story becomes, the more power she seems to have. Oiwa wasn't born a monster. That's what makes this so unbearable. She was a samurai's daughter, raised with honor in a world that was supposed to protect women like her. When she married Iman Tamiya, she believed in the old promises, loyalty, devotion, the kind of love that poets wrote about in those woodblock prints you see in museums. She gave him everything, a home, a child, her trust. But Yemen was the kind of man who saw opportunity in betrayal, who understood that in Edo-period Japan, a wife was property, and property could be discarded if something better came along. The granddaughter of a wealthy neighbor started visiting, young, beautiful, connected. Everything Oiwa wasn't anymore after childbirth had worn her down, after sleepless nights, and poverty had stolen the girl Yemen had married. So he made a decision that would echo through centuries. He gave Oiwa poison, not the kind that kills quickly. That would have been mercy. No, this was something slower, designed to destroy her from the outside in. Some accounts say it was a facial cream, a gift laced with toxins, delivered with a smile and a lie about restoring her beauty. Others claim it was medicine for an illness he'd invented, spoon-fed while he whispered reassurances. Either way, the result was the same. Her face began to collapse, her left eye drooped, swollen and weeping, until it hung grotesquely from the socket. Her hair fell out in clumps, her skin erupted in lesions that wept and cracked. She became unrecognizable, not just to the world, but to herself. Imagine that. Imagine looking into polished bronze and seeing something that isn't human staring back. And Eamon, he placed a mirror in front of her. He wanted her to see, wanted her to know exactly what he'd done before he cast her out for the beautiful girl waiting in the next house. But here's where the story fractures into versions, and every version is worse than the last. In some tellings, Oiwa discovers the plot and confronts Eamon, and he kills her himself. A quick thrust of the blade to silence the only witness to his crime. In others, she dies from the poison, alone and abandoned, her final moments spent clawing at her ruined face, trying to understand why. But there's a third version, one whispered in the back rooms of Kabuki theaters late at night, that says Oiwa didn't die from poison or blade. She died from realizing the truth, that the man she loved had never loved her at all, that she'd been a placeholder, a convenience, a thing to be used and erased. And that realization, that soul-deep betrayal, was what killed her. The poison just made sure everyone would remember what she'd become. Her body was supposedly nailed to a wooden door and thrown into a river, because even in death, Eamon couldn't let her rest with dignity. That door, that image, it became the centerpiece of every adaptation that followed. The moment when Oiwa's spirit tears through the wood, her ruined face emerging from the grain itself, eye dangling, hair matted with river weeds, mouth open in a scream that never ends. Would you have looked away? Because when the play premiered in 1825, written by Tsuruya Nanboku IV as Yotsuya Kaidan, audiences didn't. They couldn't. It became the most performed ghost story in Japanese history, more famous than any legend before or since. But here's where it stops being theater and becomes something else. Actors started dying, not in poetic, coincidental ways, in patterns, in repetitions. A lead actress in 1892 fell from the stage during Oiwa's death scene and broke her neck. The exact angle Oiwa's neck had been broken in the script. A film adaptation in 1949 had 3 crew members die during production, all from sudden illnesses that began with facial swelling. And in 1959, the entire cast of a television version reported the same nightmare for 6 consecutive nights. A woman standing at the foot of their beds, her face half melted, whispering a single question. "Do you see me now?" The show was canceled. The tapes were buried. No one involved ever worked on a horror project again. Tell me in the comments if you think coincidence can repeat this many times. Because the Oiwa Inari shrine in Yotsuya, built supposedly on the site of her death, keeps records. Every production company, every director planning to stage or film Yotsuya Kaidan visits that shrine first. They bring offerings. They perform purification rituals. They ask permission, not from priests, from Oiwa herself. The shrine's priests will tell you, very calmly, very seriously, that the spirit residing there is not at rest, that she listens, that she decides whether your production proceeds or whether you become another cautionary tale. And if you think this is just tradition for tradition's sake, consider this. In 2014, a theater company in Osaka decided the ritual was outdated, unnecessary, a waste of time and money. They skipped the shrine visit. Opening night, the actress playing Oiwa collapsed backstage moments before her entrance. When they found her, her left eye had swollen shut. Doctors found no medical cause, no allergen, no infection. It resolved itself within hours, right after the company canceled the show and drove to the shrine at midnight to apologize. The thing about Oiwa's curse is that it's not random. It's not vengeful in the way Western ghosts are, lashing out at anyone nearby. It's specific. It targets disrespect, mockery, anyone who treats her story as entertainment without acknowledging her suffering. And maybe that's why it's lasted. Because Oiwa isn't just a ghost, she's a reckoning. She's every woman who was poisoned by someone who claimed to love her, every face destroyed by cruelty, every voice silenced by convenience. Her story should have ended in the Edo-period, buried in the same river as her body. But instead, it grew, it spread. It embedded itself so deeply into Japanese culture that her face, that drooping eye, that distorted scream, became the template for every onryo that followed. Sadako from the ring? She's Oiwa's descendant. Every long-haired ghost crawling toward you in modern horror owes something to that moment when Oiwa tore through the door and refused to stay forgotten. And here's what keeps me up at night. The curse isn't fading, it's adapting. There are reports now, unverified but consistent, that people streaming unauthorized versions of Yotsuya Kaidan, bootleg recordings, pirated films, have experienced technical malfunctions at the exact moment Oiwa's face appears. Screens flickering, audio distorting into something that sounds like breathing. One user on a Japanese forum claimed that after watching a forbidden 1960s film version, their laptop camera turned on by itself at 3 a.m. The single frame it captured before shutting down showed their own face. But the left side was blurred, swollen, unrecognizable. They deleted the file. The image kept reappearing in their photo library. They burned the laptop, bought a new one. First image in the camera roll, the same photo. They don't post anymore. If you believe this part, if you're still with me and your skin feels just a little colder, then you need to understand the final piece. Oiwa's curse works because we keep feeding it. Every performance, every film, every late-night retelling like this one breathes life into her rage. We say her name, we show her face, we make her real again and again and again. And maybe that's what she wanted all along. Not revenge on Eamon. He died centuries ago, forgotten and irrelevant, but to never be dismissed again. To make sure that every time someone hears her story, they feel what she felt. The helplessness, the betrayal, the horror of watching yourself become monstrous in someone else's eyes. She's not haunting theaters. She's haunting us, our guilt, our complicity in the cruelties we pretend not to see. So here's what I need to know, and answer honestly, because I think she's listening. Would you perform this play? Would you risk it for art, for money, for the thrill? Or would you bow to the shrine and whisper your apologies to a woman who refuses to forgive? Because the next story I'm covering isn't about a curse you can avoid with rituals. It's about one that finds you even when you've done nothing wrong, when you've never heard the name, when you thought you were safe. And if Oiwa taught us anything, it's that safety is a lie we tell ourselves before the door tears open. Subscribe if you want to know what's on the other side. Share this if you felt her watching. And whatever you do, don't say her name 3 times in the mirror. Some permissions, once asked for, can't be taken back.